The rain poured heavily that night, smearing the city lights of Chicago into blurred streaks against the window pane. Inside the dimly lit kitchen, Emma stood frozen with her hands gripping the edge of the counter. Her voice cracked like glass when she whispered, "You don't want me here." She had rehearsed those words in her head 100 times, but saying them aloud carried a finality that cut through the air like a blade. Across the room, Alex turned to face her, his eyes wide with disbelief, his chest rising and falling as though her words had stolen the air from his lungs. This wasn't just another argument. This was a breaking point. Back end index pointing right. If you believe in kindness, healing, and the beauty of second chances, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Hopeful Stories. Your support helps bring more heart-touching stories to life. Emma had always been the kind of woman who carried silence in her eyes. To strangers, she looked calm, composed, even strong, but Alex knew her stillness was built from years of hurt she rarely spoke of. She had grown up in a home where her presence often felt like a burden, where love was given conditionally, where mistakes were magnified and victories were overlooked. When she and Alex married, she thought the ghosts of her past would stay behind. But marriage wasn't a clean slate. It was a mirror, reflecting back insecurities she thought she had buried. And lately, that mirror had been cruel. The last few months had been hard on them. Alex had been working long hours at the construction site, coming home exhausted, sometimes irritable, and often distracted. Emma, left alone for hours in their modest one-bedroom apartment, began to feel invisible. She would cook dinners that went untouched, write little notes she tucked into his lunchbox, and wait for his smile, the one that once made her believe she was enough. But slowly, she felt the warmth between them fading. Nights were spent in silence, meals turned cold, and Emma began asking herself if she had made a mistake believing she deserved love in the first place. That night, when she finally uttered the words, "You don't want me here," she wasn't accusing him. She was surrendering. She was giving voice to the fear that had gnawed at her heart for years, that sooner or later, everyone she loved would realize she wasn't worth staying for. Alex stared at her, and in that moment, his exhaustion seemed to fall away. He saw her, not just the woman standing in front of him with trembling hands, but the broken little girl inside her who had spent her life believing she was unwanted. He crossed the room, his footsteps heavy against the creaking wooden floor, and when he spoke, his voice was raw, almost breaking. He told her she was wrong, that not only did he want her here, he needed her, that she wasn't a burden in his life. She was the reason he kept pushing forward when days grew hard. And for the first time in a long time, Emma's tears weren't born of despair, but of the terrifying possibility that maybe, just maybe, she was loved after all. The weeks that followed were not magical or perfect. They were messy, filled with long conversations, awkward silences, and sometimes tears. Alex began leaving small notes for her on the refrigerator before heading to work. Notes that said things like, "Your smile makes this house a home," or "Don't ever forget how much I love you." Emma, hesitant at first, started to write back. She cooked his favorite meals, not because she wanted his approval, but because she wanted to remind herself that love could still live in small gestures. Slowly, the apartment began to breathe again. But healing wasn't only about the present. It was about facing the past. One Saturday afternoon, Alex suggested they take a drive to the small town in Indiana where Emma had grown up. She resisted at first, afraid of reopening wounds, but Alex gently insisted. "Sometimes," he told her, "we have to walk back into the darkness to see how far we've come." As they drove past the familiar landmarks of her childhood, the corner store, the rusty playground, the house with the peeling white paint where she once lived, Emma felt a storm building inside her. Memories rushed back, the cold words of her father, the disapproving eyes of her mother, the nights she cried herself to sleep believing she would never matter. She gripped Alex's hand so tightly that her knuckles turned white. When they finally parked outside the old house, now abandoned, she broke down. She confessed everything she had never dared to say aloud. that she had grown up believing love was always temporary, that she feared Alex would one day wake up and see her the way her parents had seen her. Too much and never enough. Alex didn't try to fix it with words. He simply wrapped his arms around her and let her cry against his chest. In that embrace, Emma realized something powerful. Love wasn't about being flawless. It wasn't about always being cheerful, perfect, or strong. Real love was the person who stayed, who saw every broken piece and still said, "I'm not going anywhere." Back home, Emma began to heal in ways she never imagined possible. She started journaling, writing letters to the younger version of herself she had long neglected. She filled the pages with apologies, with reassurances, with reminders that she was worthy. Alex would sometimes find her sitting at the desk by the window, pen in hand, tears rolling down her cheeks. But there was something different in her now, something lighter, braver. Months later, on a warm summer evening, they sat on their small balcony overlooking the city. The sunset painted the sky in shades of pink and orange, and Emma leaned her head on Alex's shoulder. She told him she was grateful, not just for his love, but for the way he had fought for her when she had no fight left. She admitted she still had days when her insecurities whispered cruel lies, but she now had something stronger to silence them. The truth of his unwavering love. Alex smiled and kissed her forehead. "You'll never have to wonder if I want you here," he said softly. "Because you are my here. You're my home." Those words sank deep into Emma's soul, filling spaces she never thought could be healed. For the first time in her life, she didn't just hear love, she believed it. And so, what began as a night of breaking became the beginning of rebuilding. Emma learned that sometimes the most powerful moments in a relationship come not when things are easy, but when everything feels like it's falling apart. It's in those moments that love proves itself, not through grand gestures, but through staying, through listening, through choosing each other again and again. Back and index pointing right, if this story touched your heart, please support hopeful stories by liking, sharing, and subscribing. It helps more people find stories of love, hope, and healing. Before you go, we'd love to hear from you. Comment below with the words, "Love is enough," if you believe that true love can heal even the deepest wounds. Because sometimes, all it takes to change everything is the courage to stay when someone believes they're not wanted. And when love speaks louder than fear, it doesn't just save relationships, it saves lives.